worked.
La, 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 la.
You did it. Welcome to the Teachers Pep Rally, everyone. Yeah, we made it. And what a semester. What a year for the podcast, right? So let's get right to the conversation, reflect on 2024, and hopefully just enjoy some holiday cheer. Fred,
Ho, ho, ho.
Fred decorated, unless that was Pete.
So no, that was Fred. So nice.
Wow. If you watch our video, you'll see the nice decorations that he put
The
up.
ho, ho, hoing of the Santa slaying.
Yes.
It's going to be back. I miss you guys.
Miss you.
Miss you too. This really is like officially you all hearing us talking to Fred in quite a while. I mean, we would touch base every now and again, but we really haven't seen your mug.
That's it.
Yeah, it's what. Yeah, I mean, I've been really swamped with work, and then we had the other things happening, but like with we could maybe even get into some of that, but
yeah,
ultimately, I've been watching and seeing the updates and seeing all the great guests we had the whole past fall, right? So we're about to get into winter, right? So it's yeah, it was great to see you two having some awesome conversations with. So hopefully, if anybody's chiming in here for the first time, they go back and check out all those episodes. What a rich set of conversations.
Yeah, I think we did hit a good amount of topics, and there's always going to be more. But we had our first pre-kindergarten teacher on.
Yep.
Which was wonderful to kind of hear that where it all begins in early childhood development. We don't talk about that too much, actually, about the importance of no matter where you are in education and supporting students. I think it's important to always think about the beginning,
the
different steps along the way, and in the end. Pete, you said one time, I think it was during our first season, you happened to say something in a conversation about you get the kiddos the longest in elementary school.
Yeah. I tell them that often. I say, I'm gonna have you 6 years. I'm gonna have you longer than anyone else in your career, educational career.
That to me shows how important that is.
Yeah,
right?
That's huge. Yeah.
You know what? It really that is super important. I had a great conversation this afternoon, and we were discussing, when they get to the college level, how much of the skill sets that we know are so important can still be accentuated, but yet they're really kind of set in motion already. And it often happens, Pete, right, with you, at that in that 4th, 5th, 6th grade type of mode, so when I'm talking about are the soft skills, good eye contact, the ability to start to communicate and all of that. And it really does start so early. It's so important. And then we kind of try to help, improve it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that's underway.
Agree.
Check. He agrees. Fred, do you want to tell people what you've been up to, where you've been? Because Pete and I would try to explain it. We told guests all the time, they'd be like, "Where's Fred?" We're like, "Yep.
Yeah.
Here in spirit." And we would kind of give like a little blip of what we understood you were doing.
Then we started making up stuff. So
it was really good. At one point,
I missed those episodes. I'll have to go back and
pressure to live up to those stories. Don't worry about it.
It's all right. Do your best.
Yeah. So we could back up a little bit, right? Because for those that are, consistently watch us and they've been great, supporters in our community and everything, they may know a little bit. I was here with us in the beginning of the season, and then we had to make some really hard left turns. And I thank you guys for your flexibility and your understanding, and because we had great aspirations probably that went beyond what we wanted to really achieve this semester or this season. And so during the summer, I was made aware and reminded to apply to something called a Techcelerator. A Techcelerator is a kind of like a business incubator, but it deals a little bit more on the technology side. So they're more like technology-oriented companies in an incubator. So the call went out. So I'm in Pennsylvania, and they're the next cohort. I was part of the 3rd cohort of this particular activity. They put the call out for applicants, and I thought, let me put it out there. Never thinking in a million years I was going to get selected. I mean, when I think of everything that I'm doing, I really, I think we all have that imposter syndrome. Like, this isn't that big of a deal. Like, I know other people, So I put it out there, and I let it go. And then of course, Aaron and Pete, we began our conversations about what do we want to do this season, the guests, how we want to connect with our community and all that good stuff. And then of course, in my work side of the house, we had some really, really big changes within the university. So, and that created a heavier workload than normal. And so for those teachers that are listening, I essentially doubled my workload. I doubled my teach load. Classes that I've all had, except for two new preps. So there was a lot going on and a lot of newness in a way. Nothing that I didn't feel capable to handle, but you can only do so many things in the hours of the day. I found out.
Only workload.
Did you know that there's only 24 hours in a day?
Wow, that's it.
Keep reminding myself.
But it was so anyway, you guys have been through the grind too. You know what it's like. So, but anyway, we started the semester. Classes are underway. The excitement's all there with new students and getting to know everybody. And then what ended up happening was I got notified saying you have been selected to be part of the cohort. And I had to let them know. And that's when I reached out to Aaron, I think. And then we reached out to Pete and I said, what should I do? And Aaron, you're just like, yeah, you got to, do it. Just go forward with it. So what it was a 10-week program for 3 hours on a Wednesday night, reading assignments, homework every week, journaling, reflecting. And then what it did was it solidified next steps for what I do with getmecoding.com. It also solidified my understanding of, or better understanding of early stage ideation with business startups. Mm-hmm. So now when I get involved with my university, as I'm part of what's known as a launch box, and we are an office that helps anybody that has an idea for a business startup. So I encourage anybody that's out there listening to this, if you have an idea, seek out your universities, your small business development centers, and see what they have to get early stage ideation going. So if you have an idea, just you have to go through some thought processes. So that's what this helped me do. It allowed me to do that. And I think the biggest takeaway, so it all culminated to last week where we had presentations. We had to give a 10-minute pitch. And it was, being a teacher, some of that stuff is easy. Kind of watching there was 8 of us in our cohort, and it was really neat to see. There was a couple of people, they weren't used to speaking in front of people. And they really came into their own because we had the last 3 weeks, we all had to do practice runs. And there was a lot of spitballing and a lot of feedback and a lot of support. And so you and I, well, all of us here have been part of Lou Mangello's Momentum, which is a 3-day, or technically a 3-day event, right? And we know what that's like. This was like that, but spread out over 10 weeks. And the camaraderie that you build when you're in that kind of space,
oh yeah,
was really cool. You know how it is. It's like when you tell people in your family or your friends you have this idea, you're going to start doing these things, kind of like even with us with the podcast, right? Sometimes you get the mom, what we call the mom level of support. You go for it. That's great. And then you talk to other people and they're like, what doesn't make sense to me? What are you doing? So the cohort, we bonded, we got to know each other, and all the ideas were across the board. Matter of fact, we may have a possible guest from the cohort, maybe 2. Cool. And we'll talk more about that later. And then, we got together, we did our thing. And then, like I said, it culminated in doing our pitches. And now technically the next step would be entry into the business plan competition, which wouldn't impact, I don't see it impacting us, for this, but then I have to make that decision. Do I want to get involved with that? And that would just essentially be me really working numbers, understanding that side of the house. So the upside is exposure, meeting people, networking, possibly collaborating, and kind of going forward with all that. So I think the main thing I wanted to share with you two tonight with the Tech Accelerator thing was how that came about. So this is something that's offered through the county in which I live in. And we're not the only ones doing these things. So if you know of anybody, if you're in a county, whether you're in Atlanta, right down there, or in San Francisco, or you're in Montana, or wherever you're listening, and you're looking for a way to get things started up, seek out your county. When I was sitting in the sessions, we also got introduced to the resources in the area. And for how much I've been involved in the region, I was shocked about what I didn't know. And I'm like, wow. And it also kind of said something a little bit about how they communicate and market and, how they make themselves available. But I think make good use of your local resources. Really, really dig around, look around, ask and seek, because I think there's a lot of hidden gems right underneath our noses that sometimes we don't even realize if we're trying to start a business. And it does depend on what the business is and all that. But it was great. And I think, and you all, and Aaron, you finished some education here recently, and Pete, you've been through the mill too. But it was like being back in school. I know. Not only was I in school, I was teaching. And so I would leave, I would teach. It was Wednesday afternoon. That was my Mondays and Wednesdays were my heavy loads. So I was teaching all afternoon. I'd run home, let my dog out, put some food in my mouth real quick, and then I would be on the road to the class, and then, back in the classroom. I'm glad it was facilitated by a really sharp group of people. Maria, Don, and Larry, if you're out there listening, thank you. It was just a really, really good experience from so many different ways. So yeah, it was interesting.
Hey, Fred, did it accumulate in like a Shark Tank type of situation? You said pitch.
Yeah. So the way it worked is like the last 3 weeks. So we'll say the last 3 weeks. You put together your presentation, you put together your deck, and it essentially talked about your value proposition, which is what are you doing that's going to bring value to who you're serving. And then you put together we did a lot of homework on what's known as customer discovery, where you essentially are going out and interviewing people and talking to them, not asking them, not saying, hey, I have this business, what do you think of this? But ultimately having a conversation with them and understanding where their pain points are. So there's a couple of questions you could pose. And that kind of going back to what I was said, one of the books we read was called The Mom Test. And it teaches you how to ask those questions while gathering. And so you also come up with a list of points that say, if these things happen, my business will fail. So your questions are essentially validating that. And if you start to detect, if my business can fail, and you start asking those questions, then it validates that. Then you have to really rethink what your business idea is. So, for those that are new to the listening to the podcast, I'm in the STEM space, and STEM, STEAM, STREAM. And now, Aaron, I don't know how much you are all seeing this yet. Pennsylvania's standard is now has become SEAL. So it's science, engineering, arts, and languages. So now we're pretty much bringing everything under the umbrella. And we, so I had a lot of conversations with people, moms, dads. I was reaching out to people. And at first, when I was beginning that process, I was falling a little bit under the mistake of, I already know the answers. Yeah. And I was blown away by what I was learning. I was learning a lot.
Yeah.
And it was very, very, it was one of the best parts of it. And so at first, when I was asked, when they told us that was our homework, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. I have to interview how many people by next week? When am I going to do that? And so you find you're really, and it was a really uncomfortable exercise for me. I'm not a marketing person. I'm not a sales guy. And so all of a sudden I was doing that. By the third week, I was in the mall the one day, and I just turned to somebody. I struck up a conversation with them, and I just was and I was quickly pulling the information out of them. We had one young fellow who has a great product. He, it definitely has the potential to become something. It's really cool. It's a heated lunchbox for guys on construction sites, and they take the battery off their cordless drills or whatever, and they hook it onto this box, and they could put their soup or their sandwich or whatever, and they could heat it right there. He was learning that people would take a slice of their pizza, they would wrap it in tinfoil. If they were pavers, or they had a asphalt thing, they would toss it in the asphalt to warm it up, or they would put it on their engine, or they would do. So he's created this product. But anyway, and his customer discovery, he went to Home Depot with his girlfriend, and for 3 hours, he talked to people in the tool section. just asking questions. And he gathered a lot of feedback. And I think that's a lesson for anybody out there, any teacher that's kind of looking at the whole, business side, if you want to call it a side hustle, solopreneurship, whatever it is, validate your idea. Ask people questions, and then you could learn a lot. So it was really neat.
That's a big part of design thinking, right? Or project management. Totally. A lot of times we forget how education, it's a business, right? Yep. School districts, universities, they're a business. I think we need to start reminding ourselves and bringing that back again, the people powers that be that run those. So I do empathy, what we call those empathy interviews, Fred. And so whenever there's a problem that we think we've identified and we want to try to fix it or find a solution for something or innovative solution, whatever, the first thing we'll do is those empathy interviews. We'll identify who's the main audience. So sometimes it might be everyone in the district, like various stakeholders, whether it's a parent,
right,
staff members, admin, blah, blah. Sometimes it's certain student body, right? Like there's a certain school that's needs to try to fix something. Their assumption is it needs to be this. Well, you shouldn't really ideate on something unless you really, like you said, with the point system, I like that because you might be trying to create a product or a solution to something that you are totally wrong on what it is. Right?
Yeah. You do think, so you were saying like you talk to the stakeholders. What about talking to students?
All the time. I've helped schools with that all the time. During the heat of COVID, when everyone was at home for so long, there was a school that they kind of called them the lost students, the ones that they just never really would hear from. They were still technically enrolled, or they'd be there, but their cameras weren't on, so they just didn't have any kind of felt like contact or any kind of assurance of the students. They just felt invisible. And so we did a whole design thinking thing. And so they identified, we did all different, it was a middle school. So we picked the ones that weren't invisible. We picked the ones that were kind of in the middle of the road. And then we picked the ones that were kind of disappearing, male, female, different grades. And then we did those interviews with them to try to figure out what was going on. So we could then help them come up with some solutions to get those kids back or be engaged or not feel so invisible. And it was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah.
I think it's a great exercise. I mean, I think even if you feel like you're really solid about what your idea is, it also kind of, or even if you're in the right space, you're gathering the right data and everything, it still kind of makes you aware of some outliers that you really wouldn't have considered. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, we do need to factor that in. And that was that. I think that actually what you just laid out about the design thinking is that's right. That's exactly it. It's kind of like what I have. I just got done teaching a class on design this semester, and they had to do a usability test on their design, and they a variety of designs touched fast food kiosk, ATM, all that stuff. And that's what really that was a little different. A couple other factors were factored in for the grading purpose, but they had to get out there and they had to test. And for the students in my discipline and even myself, like I'm a behind the computer kind of guy in a way. This forces you to get out and it gets you to interact. And even in that exercise alone is worth it, so
absolutely.
Yeah. So it's over. I'm back. I'm looking forward. I know that this is our holiday wrap up in a way. And holidays are underway close. I'm in finals week now. Grades are piling in and projects are getting turned in. So I'm trying to get through them all so I can just relax.
It's kind of a weird calendar year, isn't it? Because as far as when the break begins, the various holidays or celebrations that people do, whether it's, Hanukkah is on the same day as Christmas Day this year, which is very unusual.
Very unusual.
So for like our school district, and Pete, I guess yours is probably the same. Like you're not off quite yet, are you?
No.
Okay.
I'm going straight to Friday.
It's like next week for the week of what is that? The like 23rd.
Right.
Into the new year. But then the week of the new year, normally we go back on the 3rd in like K through 12, where I know universities usually is a little bit later. Because of the way that all this falls, and we always get 10 days. It's like, what is it, Pete? Like January.
I'm back on the 2nd.
You are?
Yep.
Wow.
And the kids are the next Monday. What's that? The 7th? But
The
the teachers,
6th.
the teachers are there. I'm back on the 2nd for.
Wow. Is part of that because you guys, let's talk instructional calendars. Is that because you guys take those longer week breaks in the winter and fall, maybe?
I'm surprised. It's definitely shorter this year. Because we still
Okay.
have all that. I think it's just the way the calendar fell for them.
Yeah, it's really unusual.
Yeah.
I know. So we're all kind of just rolling in. And so if you're feeling tired and a little bit like you're on fumes, you are not alone.
Oh,
We're
gosh.
letting you know that.
Longest week. I've said this to so many people. It feels like the longest marathon week I've had recently. It's a lot.
It's
Crawling over
brutal.
the finish line. Brutal.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember the last time where at the end of the day, and I've got so much to do by the time I get home, I literally stand there for a second. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Like I'm I can go to sleep. I'm overwhelmed about thinking about doing anything else. Like it's just, I'm toast.
Yep.
I know that feeling.
Yep.
Totally
Yep.
toast.
It
Totally.
is weird. It is a short turnaround. Now I'm just trying to think of like.
And actually the holiday season's been compressed by a week because Thanksgiving was later.
And I
So
think
late.
that's the
That's
other
exactly.
thing.
Yeah. That's
So
what I'm seeing.
another factor. Like,
Yes.
so you got all your personal stuff, all your family stuff. It's,
Yes.
those dates are still coming and you had less time to get it done while it's crazy during school life.
Yes.
So
Yes.
And really we see it. It's reflected in the students too, because they do pick up on all that stuff and the shortness of everything. And
Yeah.
it did come up really fast. So hopefully going into the spring, it's a little bit easier, right? Shouldn't it be?
hopefully.
Let's hope. Here's to
Everybody hear
hoping.
that?
Here's
Put
to
it out in the
hoping.
universe.
Putting it out there. We would
Here's
like
to
an easier
hoping.
spring.
All right. So what's going on that's new? How are you guys doing? What's like any plans for the break? What's going on?
Let me see. My dog just walked in here.
Oh, good. Put the dog on camera.
Yeah, I heard you see the door open and then like, where'd he go? So we've been in the Northeast, right? We started off with one heck of a snowstorm. And that was we were one of the locations that had the full 2 feet.
Wow.
And then a week later it was gone. So I thought we were going to be like in the skiing mode a lot. So I thought I was going to be out there skiing first time in a while, but no, I'm going to wait. I'm waiting for all of my kids to kind of head back in. My daughter coming in from the West Coast, my son coming down up from the South, and then my oldest and the grandbaby and all that stuff. We're getting ready to gather.
Yay.
So looking forward to the holidays. I'm just really, and then of course, if you're a college football fan, we're watching this first weekend of playoffs, where Penn State is going to be in it. I am not going to that game. I said, what I'm going to do is, at a minimum, I'll put my TV by the window, stand on the deck, and when I get cold, I will come back in the house.
Great idea.
It's going to be 17 degrees in the stadium, and they're coming up from SMU. So I know it gets cold in Texas. I don't know if they're in the cold part.
I have been. Oh, sorry, Pete.
No, I was agreeing with you.
I was going to say I have been to many an Army Navy game where it's that cold, Fred, and it's brutal. Yeah, I'm not. I've been to a lot of those games over the years, and I love it. I love the excitement. It's fun, but I'm just at that point where I'm like, I don't think I need to do that. Yeah, you're like, I'm good.
Okay. How about you, Aaron?
So we'll travel for a little bit of it, and then, like I said, it's kind of strange. It's like, and I think that's part of the exhaustion of just working right up to going out of town. Where normally I'm very lucky where I'll have a couple days before everyone else has off to kind of get everything together. And this year, it's just not the case. So when I come back, I will hopefully spend some time to catch up a little bit before we head back in it.
Right.
What's going on with events that you'll be planning, Aaron? What's any updates with all that stuff?
Yeah, so I'm very excited. So the professional development in Orlando for educators is all set up in June. Everything seems to be running very, very smoothly.
There it is.
Yep, that's it. Thanks, Fred. Yep. So Main Street.
That's Pete.
I have forgotten to put that up the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, thanks, Fred. Thanks, Fred. I'm excited. I've got a couple things in the works that I think in January I'll make announcements for that. Maybe some special guests to come to it. But it's just if you're an educator who, you have an idea, or you just want that you just never have time to work on, like we were talking about ideating on something, then come, you will walk away with at least one actionable item that you can bring back with you. If you want to just kind of rejuvenate, your love for teaching and be around people like us that are just kind of fun, always looking for ways to celebrate what we do and share ideas, then this is definitely for you. I've had some interesting people reach out in different areas of education that are like, hey, is this something that you think my team can do? And I'm like, I'll look and see what they do. And I'm like, yes, absolutely. It's pretty much any role in education. You can, and no matter who your students are, come. I promise you it'll be a great time. So yeah.
That's awesome. Good. Yeah. That's anybody listening out there. It's great location, great time of the year, all the good stuff and rolled up in one.
Yeah. Hopefully you've got off, so you don't have to worry about taking the time off. And I tried to make the ticket pricing as best as I can without taking away any of the quality to help out educators, because I know it's getting harder and harder to get PD. So, and the Wyndham has given us an unbelievable rate. So you guys know what it's like to stay around. It's on Disney property. It's right across from Disney Springs. So you can walk
great
to
location.
it. $99 a night for educators.
Wonderful.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That hotel, I honestly goodness, that hotel is a hidden gem down there.
Yep.
It's perfect location, really nice rooms. If you get the tower view, you could see directly towards Epcot, Magic Kingdom, the whole, that's a great spot. I encourage anybody to go there.
We've had in the past, because they will honor that pricing 3 days before the event and 3 days after. So beautiful. I can't tell you how many people in the past will either take the vacation before or after, and a lot of them it'll be with their families. They'll have their families come with them, or we'll be talking on the last day, and everyone's talking about, oh, I can't wait. My husband or my kids or whatever are going to show up, and what time do they land? And, what are you going to do? And, and then they go off and enjoy a couple days, being in Orlando. So
yep. There's a whole new park coming by that point.
Yep.
So there's a lot to do this summer.
That's great. Look, it is a great location though. That's so much fun.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to it for sure. And Pete, Fred, you just reminded me, Pete,
what?
How have been the festive musicals and chorus things?
Where are you? We're in the process.
We're done.
Woo!
So Fred, maybe 2 weeks ago, I had walking pneumonia. And since then we did the theater club had shows, chorus had shows, and chorus, the whole program was changed this year. So it was much more challenging. So dealt with that. And then all sorts of other events. And then we had some sad news at our school. 2 retired teachers passed, and then our secretary, all in the same couple days. So it was a lot of boom, boom, boom. So everybody's dealing with that. I couldn't go pay my respects in person because the chorus was performing at a festival, but dedicated everything to her and those people, and very special. So that's been something we're all dealing with. And
sorry to hear that.
And then just looking forward to the kids are ready. I'm ready. Let's go. It's been,
what are we waiting for?
It's been rough.
That's awesome. That I was going to say, those performances are some of my best memories from school, though.
Totally, and that's what that's this ongoing conversation with some of the decision makers in our school. I'm trying to say, there's ways to do these big events that include everyone, not exclude anyone. And there's it's so important for the fabric of the school, for the culture. They are the memory makers, and a lot of those aren't happening this year. And I'm just saying, I know people are really missing some of those things. So I have a few less events this year than I usually do, but I'm more tired. So I don't know if that was the sickness or being old or a combination of everything going on. But we're getting ready. January to March is my busier time of year. Every time of year is busy for me, but that's my busier. We're getting ready for our show season. We're doing in one school Frozen, and in another school we're doing Finding Nemo. And I've designed it, and it's going to be just like how they do it down in the park, but we do it in the round. But it's going to be at least 100 puppets. It's going to be awesome. So we're looking forward to that. I haven't done that show yet. So we're working on that, and
I need to come to that one, Pete.
Please come.
I will call you afterwards. I'll get 2 tickets because I'm going to bring my mom. That's one of her favorites. So.
What are the age groups for those 2 performances? Are they the same age groups, or do you have them?
They're elementary school. Group? They're elementary school, and then I do the older. So mine, this year at my school, I'm allowing second in kids that have done shows with me before. I'm allowing them, but it's usually 4th and 5th, and a little bit of 3rd. But I am allowing a few. And this year, I'm excited. We're gonna have some of our special needs population in the show, which is gonna be awesome. I am so excited, and it's just gonna add a whole new energy and a whole new life to our show when the community truly sees everybody in our school performing, and that's something that's really important to me. And we've been working hard to make that work and make sure all my friends have whatever they need to be comfortable. And to be fully participating on this journey. So that's something we're working towards. And then we got the nonprofit cruising along. We took a few hits. Last few weeks, we lost some board members. And, life. People are dealing through a lot. People are going through a lot. And some people say, listen, I can't give the organization what it needs right now. So, so we took a few hits on that. So we're looking to rebuild the board, and I'm not giving up on that goal about a building for next year. I'm really hoping next year is the year for us. So
yeah,
I'm just putting out there in the universe. We'll see what happens. So
do it. Do it.
We're trying.
Have you started to identify locations or possible locations?
Oh, I have. Yeah. It's what I can identify is money in the bank. So if you know of a way to make that happen, I can identify all sorts of locations. I just need to identify a bank.
If anyone's out there looking to make a donation, a charitable donation that will be a good write-off. So we know of a good place to take it.
But that's what I've been looking. I'm adding up how much we give the school system. And I'm like, okay, if we were in our own building where we could meet everybody's needs, and not pay each of these individual schools all these fees and everything, I'm wondering, I'm looking at the books and trying to figure out, all right, how much more do we need to make this work? Because we are spending a significant amount. So we're getting there. But then, then I could reach the homeschooling community. I want to do programs with special needs. I want to do programs with
charter schools,
and even our older population. I mean, there's just so much I want to do that I can't do as a music teacher.
I love that idea. Well, I had 2 thoughts. One, my niece is in the choir up in New Jersey in Westfield. And her high school group did a performance, and I got to see it stream live from Atlanta, which was very, very cool. My sister sent me the link. But there were different groups that performed, and the group that sponsors it, Pete, is a much older and distinguished group of men, and it's their own glee club.
Oh yeah.
So they all performed and everything, but they were so happy in what they were doing. So the fact that you just brought that up, I really was watching them going, man, good for them. You can tell they practice, they're buds, that they've got a friendship, they've got something to go and do. And it was just lifted my spirit, just seeing the joy of what they were enjoying each other.
That reminds me of a documentary. It's got to be at least 10 years old. I'm going to ask my wife if she's watching. Honey, type in the chat. What's the name of the documentary? I think it's either Young at Part or Young at Heart. But it's a glee club of singers, senior singers, and it's wonderful. So check that out. It's a feel good. And then relating to that, check out the new Coldplay video with Dick Van Dyke.
Yes. Have you seen it?
Just turned 99 this week. God bless him. And it's special. Beautiful. Yes. Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
And one last one. Who knew we were going to be recognizing our senior friends out there, our teenagers, as I like to call them.
That's awesome.
Have you seen? It's because I have a mother-in-law who's a teenager. She stays up later than we do. Have you guys seen any of? Probably not, because you've been super busy. But Ted Danson's Inside Man on Netflix.
No.
It kind of is in the realm of this theme we're talking about tonight. If you're looking for something to watch over break,
there you go.
Real easy. There may be 27-minute episodes, and it's just nice.
Is it like a satire, or is it?
Nope. It's apparently it's a remake, I think, of an old show. And the premise is Ted Danson, he's a widower, and he ends up, his daughter kind of encourages him to he needs to get involved. He's just, since his wife has died, he just doesn't really, he's a professor, by the way, a retired professor.
Cool.
And he just really isn't out living life. And she tries to encourage him to do something, just, join a book club or whatever. Well, he ends up answering a want ad in the newspaper, because he reads the newspaper all the time. And he goes and he ends up getting hired to be an undercover, like, detective person for a senior citizen home, like an independent living kind of type place. Because a necklace has been stolen, and this detective agency was hired to figure it out. And so, as you can imagine, I mean, there's some comedic part to it, but there's also some really sweet little stories about it. Just a reminder, like Pete was saying, of like, let's include all ages and all, and it's just a reminder that we don't stop living, right, till we stop living. Basically,
I didn't even hear about that. I'm gonna have to check it out. I like that dance.
That's good stuff, everybody.
Yeah,
my son was watching The Good Place. He was he was watching that pretty regularly on, I think, is that on Netflix?
One of my favorite shows. Yeah.
I was catching bits and pieces of it, not as much as I could.
My boss, my wife, young at heart. I was thinking like part singing, chorus. Young at heart. See, I'm tired.
Young at part?
Heart.
Googling. I'm Googling.
It doesn't start with an F. It starts with an H.
Young.
And then, please. The PH.
With it being the holidays, while I was grading, I had in the background on, I had Red One on.
What'd you think?
I'm like, this is going to be, D-rated. It's like that. I thought it was really good. I thought it was surprising.
Red One.
Oh, okay.
It's still out in theater, but it's got Dwayne.
Yep.
Dwayne Johnson.
The Rock.
Johnson. It's got
Chris Evans.
Simmons and Chris Evans.
The State Farm guy.
Yes.
He plays Santa.
And Lucy Liu? No.
Lucy. Yes. Lucy Liu. Very good. Nice.
Yeah.
She shows her stuff. Yep.
Yeah. It's just a fun, different type of. There was a little bit of a horror factor to it.
Yes. With Krampus.
Yes.
Krampus. Scary.
It's kind of like the Santa Claus movies meets Marvel.
Yes. That's
I can see that.
And almost Agatha All Along-ish.
Which I enjoyed.
Oh, okay. I see, I didn't watch that yet. That's what I'm going to catch up over the break. Yeah.
That's a well-made show.
Yeah.
Was it?
It was a well-made show.
Have you been able to watch any of the Skeleton Crew, the Star Wars yet?
Yes.
I would like to watch that new episode tonight, actually.
Super. It's like the Goonies meets Star Wars.
Yep.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun. You know what I thought would. So you've seen it. No spoilers here, but like I love how they there's that one scene where they look like they're in a neighborhood, like with all the Star Wars stuff we've seen over the years.
Yes.
Everything's kind of like
same thought.
Yeah, it was really, really, really cool. So I was surprised too. I didn't know what to expect when I watched it. I was like, this is really good.
Yeah.
And it's very similar to the Agatha show. Both had rock bottom expectations. The public just like, I'm done. I'm good. And everybody generally has been pleasantly surprised, saying, well, I like this. It's really well made. It's really well thought out. Oh, there's a showrunner. There's actually somebody in the driver's seat. These shows that go from episode to episode, there's no through line. It's a different direction. Each one, there's no thought. Those they got to stop with those. You need a beginning and an end. It needs to be well thought out. Somebody in charge the whole way through. The gentleman, he did the Spider-Man, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies. This is his project. And you see it. You see that. And what you said, who would have thought? Oh, Star Wars is fun again. Thank you. That's what I've been missing.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
For so long.
Yeah.
It's like, come on.
Yep.
That's what it should always be. Fun.
It is. And they managed to find 4 kids that are just like, bam, they're perfect. That'll be a good one to continue to watch and see where that one goes. Jude Law is also just, he does his role. And it kind of, I said it was the Goonies meets Star Wars meets Pirates of the Caribbean.
It's all that. A little E.T., I feel.
Yeah.
A little bit. There was an 80s movie called Explorers. I just feel a lot of it is all based on those Amblin you know, obviously these filmmakers grew up with Spielberg and Amblin in the 80s, and you see it in the cinematography and the lighting and the whole vibe of it. And that's why I'm enjoying it.
Even like the Stand By Me, right?
Stand
like
By Me,
about these
completely.
kids that are kind of
Yep. So I hope
that's a good point too, Aaron.
But I have not heard anybody that's watched it. Every person I've talked to said, "Oh, wow, I'm really surprised how good that is, how much fun it is. I'm really enjoying it." Like, wow.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's and then what was the other one I was going to get ready to watch? So I've been queuing up, right? So as soon as I get free of this, I'm going to be watching shows and finishing, some gift wrapping and stuff like that. But there's another one too. What was it? There was one more Christmas one that.
How about Wicked?
Oh,
we didn't see that. Did you see it?
Didn't see Wicked yet. Aaron, did you see it?
Yeah.
My wife has been wanting. That's the movie she wants to go see. So we'll try maybe go see that maybe this weekend when my daughter comes in.
Did you see it, Pete?
We did.
Was anyone singing in the theater, or did they behave?
No.
Ours behaved, but apparently that was a thing for a while. They had to start.
It was a thing.
Yeah, which I would be down for a sing along. So Pete, if you'd like,
I'm sure that's coming. It's got to be coming soon.
We should film that. The sing along start, I believe, Christmas Day. The official sing alongs.
Okay.
It's so well made. It's so well made, and honestly, I did not see Wicked on stage. I don't know it that well, so I didn't see it. I'm familiar with it. I know, right? But we went over Thanksgiving weekend, the three of us. So I think we went in there kind of not knowing a lot of. I knew the music, and I love Stephen Schwartz's music, and I like the director very much. I loved his In the Heights is a great movie that came out right when COVID was starting to slow down and all, and it never got.
He did. That's the same director.
Yes, same director, and he's really excellent. Now, matter of fact, he got his start. Oh, I just unplugged something with my foot. He got his start by Spielberg. Spielberg saw one of his short movies, and that's what started him along the way. John M. Chu. He's such a filmmaker, and I really think that next one, a year from now, people are going to be like, "Wow, there's nothing like it." That these bookend of these big fables. But I really impressed in all aspects of that movie. What I liked
about it is it was easy for me to get lost in the world of it, and I even know the story because I love the play. But sometimes you're watching something like that, and you're in that kind of fantastical thing, and it can be a great movie or great imagery, but at the same time, or cinematography, but sometimes you're reminded that you're just watching something on screen. You know what I mean? Because there's a little bit of a disconnect between it's just too. I don't know. This one I just felt really
immersed.
Sometimes, and Disney's guilty of this. They just go overboard with the CGI.
Yes.
And sometimes it looks too real. And you're like, I just something's not jiving in my head. This one has so much more practical in it, as opposed to the computer generated images. And of course there's a lot still. It's a big movie like that, but it's so well made. But Fred, catch that. I think you guys would like that. Bring the family.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, we'll see. She saw it, and she saw that. I didn't see the story. I don't know it either. I mean, I know it, but I don't know it. So yeah, we'll be looking. I guess, Aaron, the other one I wanted to ask you about was, did you see the War of the Rohirrim? Did you go to the animated Lord of the Rings yet?
I did not, but I really that's like one of my want to sees.
Yeah.
Is that in the theaters or is that streaming?
It's in the theaters.
Okay.
At least it was. I don't know. It's so weird how that stuff pops. That, like, even with Red One, that was just in the theaters, and now boom, it was right on Amazon.
On Prime, yeah.
Yeah. And it was, we'd like to see it in the movie.
It looked really cool.
Yeah, it does. Really. And they said the storyline is really good, and it had such great support from Peter Jackson and the old crew of everybody from the Lord of the Rings stuff. So hopefully it's hard for me to put my head around that, though, because we're so used to that live action experience. But I mean, I did see, as a kid growing up, the holiday special, or not the holiday special, but the Hobbit.
Oh yeah, the cartoon. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that was a big deal.
Some of those cartoons in the 70s, early 80s. Ooh,
they were really well done.
But
dark.
Watership Down.
Oh, Watership Down.
Oh, that's Secret of Nim. Some of them.
Secret of Nim is one of my all-time.
Oh, I think Watership Down is a great one.
Watership Down messed with me. I don't.
That's what I mean. They were dark. They were pretty.
Well, that last battle.
I know what I'm doing tomorrow with my students. I was worried what I was going to show them tomorrow because it's an earlier day. So I think we're gonna We're gonna watch Watership Down and then make it a musical.
Perfect.
Good luck at that.
Perfect.
There's so many layers to that story too. So it's who wrote that? Who's the author of Watership Down?
I don't know.
Wow, you guys are totally bringing me back to.
I don't like that one.
That's got that end. That ending is tough. It's sad. It's good, but it's not sad. It's touching, I think. And that's the best way to put it. What was I going to ask you? So before we break, I suppose I have to share this story.
Okay.
So, we deliver a lot of things digitally anymore. And I was feeling that I was noticing somehow students were getting answers and I couldn't quite figure out how they were doing it. So I decided to revert back to the old paper exam. Now to you all it may very well still be a very prominent thing, but in my space, everything is online. Everything's on the computer we do. So I went back to my tool. I built my exam. I was really like, I'm going to deliver this thing. Oh my goodness. Like I had 4 essay questions on the one exam. And I will never do that again because people don't know how to print. They don't know how to print. They don't know how to write. So big T's, backward E's, like craziness, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I thought I got to figure this out. I got to make sure. So I find out that we have a new tool that kind of locks down the browser. So we do have, if you study online, you may have heard of tools like Honor Lock or whatever, where the webcam monitors your eyes. It monitors everything in the background. It's set, and then it flags the instructor. It tells you have to review the videos and all that. So we do have that. But in the live proctored classroom, we finally have a lockdown browser. Well, it was one of those days I was literally like flying by the seat of my pants, no net. I'm like, I'm going to connect the quiz or the test to this tool and we're going to launch it. I don't know what's going to happen, but we're going to launch it. I get the instructional designer involved. He comes over. He's kind of monitoring all this. And so now it launches. Students are in there. First of all, when they came into the room, oh, we're having the test online, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's going to be online, but we're going to be using Browser Guard. It was almost like everybody just went,
yeah, I mean,
well, what? We're going to what? So they get into the exam. Now I'm a geek. And then I'm thinking to myself, the instructional designer leaves. He's like, okay, it looks like everything's under control. So I start Googling ways to get around the browser. Like, I'm like, there's got to be a way. So I hit this Reddit thread and I'm reading the Reddit thread. And after the monologue entry of this person, whoever put it out there, it said, and this is the honest to goodness truth. Just as I'm reading this, it says, the students will kick out the power cord on the computer. And just as I'm reading that, across the room, I can't believe it. I just lost power to the computer. And I'm like, no, you didn't. So I go over there. Sure enough, he kicked the power cord out of the computer. So I said to him, I go, no, you're gonna have to do a paper exam, but let's see. Go to that computer right by me, by my desk, and you're gonna log in there and see if it picks up where you left off. Sure enough, goes over, logs in, picks right up where it left off. So that was good, right? Now, the next day, I'm like, all right, this is working. I'm going to put the next exam into this tool. So now the students, this one student comes in and he's literally, the way that our lab's configured, he's almost like sitting head on to me, like 5 feet away. And you can see him, he's doing his thing. And he looks up at me and he goes, Mr. Fred, I think I submitted the exam, but I'm not done yet. I'm like, so the way it works is if you try to exit out of the secure browser, it prompts you one time and it says, are you sure you want to do this? And yes or no. And if you hit yes, it prompts you again. This time though, with a text box, and you have to tell it why you want to exit out. So it's like a really conscious type, activity.
Right. There's no mistaking.
There's no mistaking it, right? Even if you put just like a bunch of gobbledygook in the text box, you're still recognizing you're doing something. So I'm looking at my teacher's portal. I'm like, sure enough, yeah, he dismissed both windows. And I said, you clicked on both. And he slowly picks up his head and he looks at me and he goes, I'm a fast clicker. Like, what does that mean? He goes, I saw both those pop-ups. I just clicked yes. And I'm like,
He's thinking.
No, but it was just so funny how we just had these two back-to-back incidents.
Oh, God,
people panic at the last minute when they're getting caught because they're realizing they need to know something.
Yes.
And it's we're not. I get it. I get it. AI, Google. I get it. All that stuff. But we still have to have some base knowledge, right? You have to have certain things in place. But anyway, I wanted to share that story with our listeners.
That's great. That is such a true, real story of teaching in a classroom.
People sweating.
Unbelievable.
Oh, and then the other one, student would. So we have multi-factor authentication.
Yep.
Student would get kicked out, and then he has to take out his phone. And he has to log back in to get back in. Well, what he was doing though was every time he was getting kicked out, he was quickly Googling. He was putting the questions into Google and doing it real fast, and then getting prompted. So, but he got caught though. So that was technically an academic integrity violation. But that was in another class because one of my teachers had to come up to me and he's like, "How do we handle this?" He said, "That's an academic integrity violation. You can't do that. You got to go through with that." But anyway, it was just
imagine an elementary classroom with 25 kids that are doing something, some sort of test, standardized test, all on that now, and the technical problems, all the things that happen. I feel so for those teachers. It's
they do that, Fred. Yeah. So even in high school, like we've had days where it's like all 9th through 12th grade are all taking whatever the standardized test is on their devices. It's a nightmare. That's, like
it's a lot.
Can be anywhere between 300 to 500 students at once.
That's what we call an irregularity.
Yes. Yes. Oh, classic. Well, real quickly. So for when we come back after break, we're going to take a break for a couple weeks so that we can kind of recharge as well. But, we'll be back, and we've already got, we've had some really, we reach out to people reach out to us. We even put out on our Teachers Pep Rally Facebook page, tell us what's a topic we haven't done, that you'd like to hear. Or if there's something you would like to come on and talk about, we always have the door open. But just to give you a little idea of when we come back, we've got some conversations about finding motivation in the middle of the school year, which will be good timing. The future of edutainment. We haven't had a conversation about that in a while. Transforming communication in the classroom, and then the power of equity in education. So those are just a few that I think are going to be really great conversations as we come back from the break.
And our last guest, Mr. Earl Foster, he has been so amazing online, and he's been following us and interacting with us and comments and all, and he's been spreading the word about us. And so, Mr. Earl, I know you're listening. Thank you so much, and you were a great guest. We hope to have you on again. Fred, you would have loved him.
I caught bits and pieces of it. Yeah, I know. I wish I was here for that one too. It was, like I said, you did a fantastic job carrying this whole season.
We didn't burn the house down when you were gone.
You didn't burn the house down. Yeah,
we could have. The one, was it with Earl? Yeah, it was actually with Earl, wasn't it, Pete? Where he had walking pneumonia. I don't know what I had, but we both were so sick.
It was right before we record. We're texting each other like, "Do you want to cancel?" Like, no, we got a guest lined up. No, let's get through this, and we got through it. And he was such a great guy, but we were not 100%.
I could see like him mute, then I would mute because we would have coughing fits.
That's right. That's when I was starting with it. That's right.
Yeah, it was, just that time of year. So anyways, I hope you all have a wonderful break. Stay safe. Enjoy your family.
Everybody out there, recharge, refocus, rejoin.
And if you're looking for something to watch or listen to, please, find us and make sure you leave a review. I think, we tend to have a lot of people I'll watch, especially on the video. A lot of people watch, after the fact, which is great, but make sure you give us that thumbs up and give us a review so we can keep the lights on and Fred's decorations can come up every season.
We have 119 episodes.
119, baby. Nice. I think, there's, if anybody would like to be a guest, if they're watching this, reach out to us, via email. We'd love to talk to you and see what you would like to share with our community, right? I mean, good stuff.
Yeah.
Get through the
All right. Thanks for running this, both of you.
Happy holidays.
Appreciate you.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy New Year.
Happy Hanukkah.
Yes, happy Hanukkah.
Las Posadas.
Everything.
New Year's.
All right. And we're going to go. See you later.
Good night.